Welcome back, wannabes and creators, to another episode of The Complete Creative, the podcast that helps you build a better creative business. And today, we have my friend David Raiklen, who is a composer and producer and all-around wonderful human being. I've known David for years, but we just met for coffee for the first time and realized we live really close to each other. So it was wonderful catching up with him then. It's wonderful catching up with him now. And it's great because this show is called The Complete Creative, but most of the people that I've talked to since the relaunch have been either artists or writers or some combination of both. But the show really is for all types of creatives. And David works in movies and television. He works in interactive live shows. He works in music. And it should hopefully give you a perspective on another kind of complete creative and how they are leading a complete creative life. So I'm not going to wait any longer to get into the show. I just want to remind you that my book, How to Build Your Creative Career, and my other book, How to Become a Successful Author, are available on Amazon and in all platforms. If you like this show, you'll love what I have to say in either audiobook or in print or ebook formats. You can find that on any platform. You can also go to thecompletecreative.com and find a whole bunch of other information about how to build your creative career. And with that being said, take it away, David. Tell us what you're passionate about these days.
Hey, it's good to be here. I'm passionate about life, love, art, film, games. I mean, those things have been with me my whole life, and they don't change. I just add new ones. So let's see. I guess a new passion would be mixed realities, where you're in a space that's in the real world, but you're adding audio and video that are artificial and creative. So you're seeing both the real space and the imaginary or created space at the same time, and hearing the sounds of the, quote, real world and the sounds of the fantasy creative world at the same time. And I kind of got introduced to this through my dear friend and genius director, artist, Kate Johnson from Easy TV, where we were creating outdoor events and around like Beverly Hills and West Hollywood and in Santa Monica, where we would find a space that was an interesting outdoor space, like let's say Tunga Park in Santa Monica, if you guys are hip to that. If not, it's worth checking out. It's kind of a public park by the ocean that also has all these art exhibits. So it's a cool space. And then we put a mixed reality installation in the middle of that used the trees and the grass and the sculptures as part of the backdrop or setting for these multiple video screens that were each a portion of an image. So you'd have a video screen that was, say 2 feet by 2 feet, that would have a portion of an image like a block in a mosaic. And then you have a whole bunch of them, but they wouldn't be all together in one giant screen. They'd be spread out through the park. So you'd be having this kind of fractured artificial, artistic, creative movie experience that was being spread out over the real people and the real art that were happening. And the same thing that with the audio, that we would have, music and sound design that appeared in different places as you went through the park. So you'd hear people talking or other activities happening in the park in the, quote, real world, but then the artificial stuff would get superimposed on it. So it wasn't super narrative, but it created this kind of out-of-body, surreal, incredible experience that's impossible to describe in words. And forgive me for going on about it, because you really had to be there. So that's the great thing about it is that it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and you have to be there and you'll never forget it because it's so powerful, audio-visual, emotional connection with the community. It works on so many levels. But the weak point is that you had to have been there, that it's something that only people who were there at that time can experience. But I'm passionate about it because I think people do need to have special, unique live experiences that are not mass produced and put through a distribution channel that tends to homogenize it. Because exciting and as fun as those things can be, I mean, I love going to the movies, I love watching popular TV shows, sporting events. There's something different about when it's live. And it's not just me. Live music and live entertainment, especially in cities, have grown in popularity with the rise of streaming services. So it's kind of like a balancing effect that as the aggregators have more and more content that they control, people are naturally seeking out live venues to see real people, in the physical meat space world, to have a greater contact with truth and reality.
So what's I have a couple of things that I love about that. The first is about I used to dislike live events. Like I used to actively not go to live music. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until recently, I don't know if it's the sound quality or just my mind space or something, that I've started really getting in to going to live events. Or maybe it is what you were talking about, where it's just we're so disconnected that it's a way to have a visceral experience that you have to go out into the world for, and you will never have that exact experience again. And even if you record that experience on a phone, it will, or even on very nice equipment, it will never quite be the same as being in that venue at that time.
Truth.
And the second is, this sounds a lot like Meow Wolf. Have you ever been to Meow Wolf or heard of Meow Wolf?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So I went while I was on a road trip from we went from here to Phoenix Comic-Con to Albuquerque to Denver, and I don't recommend it. But while we were in Albuquerque, an hour outside of Albuquerque is Santa Fe, where Meow Wolf is. It's also where George R.R. Martin lives. But
it's a beautiful place.
It's beautiful, but it was this Meow Wolf that is this sort of interactive art exhibit where they kind of took what you're talking about, but they put it in an installation where people could walk through and have similar experiences throughout. It's 20 or so. It started as 10 different artists, each designing this space. And it is interactive in the fact that you go in and it's all based around this house. And the idea is this family was abducted and you have to find out what happens. But you don't necessarily have to go through and actually find out what happened. You could just go through like I did and walk around, and you open a refrigerator and you walk through into a alien spaceship, and you go down this you take a slide down this the washing machine, and you fall out the other side, and you're supposed to be in another world. And you walk into the house, and on one side you'll see a fish tank, and then you walk up this set of stairs and you'll be inside the fish tank. And they use video that is sort of placed around in different fragments for you to find. Plus they use sound design to sort of immerse you in the world. Plus just the fact that you are in there makes it sort of indescribable to other people.
Yeah, I completely get it. And, I can see the House of Eternal Return. That's the one that you probably went in. And they, create these sculptures that are interactive so you can touch them. And there's a whole bunch of different ones. There was a kind of similar installation here in LA. I mean, similar as in that same mixed reality genre called the Wisdome, It was very interesting to go through an interactive art exhibit with a bunch of other people because it's like you're all tripping out in this surreal experience that you're sharing, and people kind of have a sense of community because you're all sharing this experience. So a little bit of that goes on in a movie theater. I love going to see movies in the theater because you get the vibe, the energy of the crowd. But you can't really talk to each other in the theater, at least not if you care about having a quality experience. But things like Meow Wolf, you're kind of encouraged to interact with other people, and I think that that's like something that we need, that unique experience. And sure, being able to record stuff and share it with millions of people is a great thing, and I love that, and that's never going to go away. But I think it's really important to stay in touch with real reality, 3D physical space that you have a visceral reaction to, and that will never be the same again, that it's always something unique and special. Because, that's how the human race evolved, right? People listening to stories and flickering candlelight, looking at the Altamira cave paintings, that was the high tech of its day, and it was never the same. It was always different. And then making everything reproducible, mass production, that's a much, much more recent thing. And I think our nervous systems have not at all evolved, and nor should they evolve to just accept mass production. We want that reality. We want that individuality, that uniqueness. Everybody wants to feel special, and when we're consuming exactly the same thing, it's less special. It's sort of like getting a book autographed, right? You have the same book as somebody else, but if I get mine autographed, mine becomes special because the creator himself or herself has actually touched it and put a special mark on it. And it's that sort of thing that people love to actually interact with the creator. And I guess that's sort of the key to 21st century art is that interactivity. I'm working on a project for Area 15. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's this giant new entertainment, shopping, art complex in Las Vegas. And I see that the people who put together the Meow Wolf in Santa Fe are also working on a project in Area 15, just like we are. My team with Matt Elson. And if you haven't heard of the Infinity Boxes, you should check them out. These are like visual effects, otherworld experiences that are created in a real physical space that you can walk through and interact with. So you're looking at incredible things that interact with how you and the other people in the space act, but it's like visual effects from a movie, if that makes sense. And
well, it does because then there's also interactive things like The Void, which is sort of a 3D VR experience in Anaheim and a couple of other places. I think they started in Salt Lake City, and there's all of these things. And I agree with you. I think that it's funny when you go to a store and they've mass produced something to feel like it's homemade, and that's just how like tactily we as humans have grown to be like, oh, this feels like it's artisanally made, and thus I grant it more weight than something that has been mass produced. Is there anything that you have found for the secret for someone who's a writer or an artist or trying to reach a mass audience to make what they're trying to do feel as intimate as the stuff that we're talking about here?
Well, of course, there's live concerts and live streams. Those are by far the most commonly used ones. And basically, all of the performing artists that I know are earning their living by traveling and performing in multiple venues. So, uh, while there are a few people that are able to succeed just staying in one city or one town, for most people it's about touring now more than ever before. And so that's one way that you are interacting with the audience, is to have a live performance. And live streams are kind of a way of doing that. But again, even the people that do live streams, I see that they are touring. And I mean touring extensively, as in uh, every day a new city. And then, traveling to Europe or Asia. And again, every day or every other day a new city. That kind of touring where you build an audience worldwide. I see that happening. And then there's these theme park kind of experiences, because theme parks have always been about having a unique interactive experience that has a kind of mixed reality component to it. And that's a whole other world, is getting into themed entertainment. But that's growing more and more popular. Believe it or not, in Asia, they have more theme parks in Asia than they do in the U.S. And they're also more into augmented reality and virtual reality. If you've never tried a theme park thrill ride that's entirely virtual, you haven't lived. It's really amazing how physical and tactile and real virtual reality can seem when you start adding other components to it, like a servomotor actuated chair. So you feel like you're on a car in a roller coaster. It moves up, down, side to side. It's all synchronized with the action that you're seeing in the view screen and in your headset. There's something about adding all those motion senses that make it seem more real. It's the combination of, okay, the image is moving up and down, and I'm physically moving up and down in perfect sync with it, that convinces your brain that it's more real. But again, that's not a substitute for the actual meeting of people. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, you can create substitutes that attempt to create a real live interaction on a mass scale. But really, if you want to have a live interaction, you have to be there with a live person. And it's sort of like the wrong idea to say, how can I scale this up by mass producing it? Because the nature of it is that it can't be mass produced. An artist who's good at this is Amanda Palmer. She used to be with the Dresden Dolls, but has become her own entity, and she travels around the world with her husband Neil Gaiman, and they put on live shows in big and small towns everywhere. And I've worked with them, and they are very dedicated to this, as much to the live performances in front of 500 people as they do to his movie projects that are seen by 50 million people. They really believe that interacting with a live audience is something that you can't substitute for, nor would you want to. So I guess that's my suggestion, is that if you have the knack for performing in front of a live audience, that yes, you should, whether you're going to conventions or coffee clubs or concert halls or universities, all these different possible venues, that actually meeting your audience, letting your audience see you in person and answering their questions, even if all you do is wave at them and they wave at you, but you're in the same room as they are. That's how you build a real connection. And uh,
I can't disagree. I can't agree with you more on that because I there's a saying, an old business saying called, "In order to scale, you have to do the unscalable," which is like the things that are not the things that feel like they're not going to lead to a lot of growth are the things that actually do lead to a lot of growth. Like meeting somebody face to face and talking to them does more to build your trust and their interest in you than talking to them 100 times online. I was just talking to a friend
yes,
of mine who was like, "Well, I send these surveys out, and like they don't get a lot of engagement." I'm like, "That's because everyone hates surveys. Everyone likes when you email them or message them personally or call them on the phone, and then they'll talk to you for an hour. But like doing a survey, it feels like something that you can scale easily because you could send a survey to 10,000 people. But the kind of stuff that you will hear from just talking to 5 people at a convention, or being in a small group setting, or doing a small play, or being at a convention where instead of being in front of 1 million people, you're in front of a couple of thousand people over the course of a weekend, are the kinds of things that you sort of they build that trust and empathy the fastest, especially when you're in a place where literally everybody can bombard you constantly. Like how I feel often is, if you're going to take the time to come to me in person, then then that's something special. That's something unique. Like not everybody is going to be in this convention hall during this weekend, but I am. I am going to fly. This year I flew to Denver and Phoenix and Seattle, and next year I'm going to go to Portland and a couple of other places. And it's like I have chosen to, instead of being in a place that I can hit 6 billion people, I'm going to actively go to a place where there will be less humans but better engagement than there are in the world. And it kind of cuts out the traffic. It cuts out the impulses to go and do 1,000 other things, because you can't do 1,000 other things. You're stuck there. And there's something about being in the same place as somebody when you could choose to be anywhere else in the world. You've both chosen for this one singular moment in time to occupy the same physical space. And while you could be online or you could be checking Facebook, you can only be in one physical space at once. And how we choose to occupy that physical space says a lot about, what we value.
it does, and that's very well said. And it's reminding me of convention experience. I work on a sci-fi streaming series called Space Command, and we present a hopeful vision of the future. And it's science fiction where in the future people treat each other better than they do in the present. There's still lots of problems, and we have to deal with runaway technology and aliens, and there's all kinds of challenges, but people are better to each other. And so to some extent that's why people are attracted to the show, and it is a well-produced and wonderful show. But we also do convention appearances where we autograph posters. And Doug Jones is one of our stars, and he plays a synthetic, a humanoid android that's developed a religious consciousness. And he does an amazing job at portraying the android and portraying all the complexities. But he's also the nicest guy in show business. And I really mean that sincerely. He cares about each individual person. And you could see that in action at our signings. I'm the convention lead for our team, and so I go in to prepare stuff. And we need to have a team of people that will guide the crowd towards the table where he's sitting. And we sometimes even have to interact with the convention security to keep the crowd under control because people want to interact with Doug Jones, even if it's just for a moment. And it's because he has this genuine warmth and caring quality about everyone. And the line extends along the huge wall of the convention center as far as the eye can see. People are waiting to see Doug. And they're happy to wait there, an hour to get to the front of the line. And he greets each person with a smile, addresses them by name. Sometimes he gives them a hug. He always gives them a personalized autograph on the beautiful poster. And as this keeps going on, hundreds of people going through, you really see how important it is that they have this human connection and that the creator be someone who's genuine and cares about them. Some people can even achieve that, although it's very rare, through television. Fred Rogers is the one that comes to mind, where he could look through the TV screen and say that I'm here for you. I can't see you, but you can see me, and I'm here for you. And there's something about that which everybody can relate to, especially kids, because kids can tell when adults are just bossing them around, or that their requests are bouncing off the grown-up, or when the grown-up really cares about them and it really listens. So especially for kids, it's important to actually care about them and not pretend that you care about them, because they're not that dumb. And, they'll play along. Kids will play along with what adults want up to a point, even when the adults are being insincere, because, they're just little kids and they don't have much power. But they can tell when you're faking it, and they can tell when you're being real. They're smart enough to know that. And I think that it's not for everyone, because, our civilization tends to heavily favor extroverts, people who are outgoing. And introverts are just as intelligent and just as caring, but they're not suited by nature to be out in crowds of thousands of people. But that's okay too. And, for the introvert artist, it's important to have someone that can help you bridge between the beautiful work that you're doing, where you really do care about other people and you want them to see it and you want them to enjoy it, but you don't have that outgoing personality, nor should you try. I don't think people should try and force themselves to be extroverts in order to succeed, because I think that ends up scarring the person. And you can be an introvert and be successful, but you do have to pair up with someone who is more extroverted, who is more promotion-oriented. And at some point, even the extroverted artist will definitely benefit from having a good PR team.
Yeah, and even an extroverted artist can burn out talking to people as well. I mean, I can't tell you how often I come back from a show, and I'm a pretty extroverted guy. Like but I'm not extroverted enough to be able to last 5 days on a convention floor without suddenly needing to not talk to anybody for a month afterwards.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I've noticed that every artist seems to have, at least, after they've been established, not when they're starting out and, they're 22 or something, but after they've been around for a while, every artist at a convention has their wife or their business manager or their publicist or, some person that's sharing the duty and sometimes takes over interacting with the fans.
Well, you can't. So I'm 37 now. Am I 37 now? I think I'm 37 now. I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel every year I don't have the energy to do as much as I did the year before. I don't have the ability to to absorb as much rejection or to just absorb as many humans as I did the year before, because like while I definitely take care of myself better now than I did a decade ago, my
Good.
energy level is way down, and I feel like at best it's equal to where it was 10 years ago when I was not taking care of myself at all.
Hmm.
What if you could go back and tell yourself when you first started a couple of things that would help propel you forward quicker in your chosen career path? Is there anything that you would tell them?
Yeah. Let's see. The first thing I would say is that to my younger self, is that you need to become more outgoing and not be as shy. Uh, that's something that I learned over time, that I actually do have an extroverted side. And it took me a while to develop it. And if I had only known that I could develop that younger, I think I would have developed it younger, and that would have made life easier because I could have started doing important things, meeting the right people sooner, and that makes things go better. I mean, the ideal situation for an artist is to have your first hit when you're 18, so you can always fall back on that. Now, you can always fall back to some extent on your hit, no matter when you finally hit. But the sooner you do it, the better. And it's mostly luck. Hits are not made; they're stumbled upon. I mean, everybody's trying to make something that's successful, but very few succeed, including people who have succeeded in the past. So it's really about luck and chance. But the sooner you start, the better your chances that you're going to hit sooner. And then once you have that hit, that puts you in a different category in both your own mind and the mind of the public. So that's one thing, is start being extroverted sooner. But again, not everybody is extroverted, so this is just kind of personally for me. Then the second thing is that I tell myself that you're ready, because I have a perfectionist side, and I try and get things done as well as they can be. And I tend to look at something that I've worked on and say, that's really not ready yet. I really have to go back and improve this part and that part. And up to a point, that's all true. But you also have to start letting things go when they're not perfect, because sooner or later, you finally realize that everything that you do, and it doesn't matter how gifted you are and how hard you worked on it, it's still not going to be perfect, because perfect is a process. It's not a thing that you get. It's a process that you go through. And you need to kind of say, this is as far as I'm going to go on this, and now I have to send it out in the world. And that, for me, took a long time to get comfortable with, because I guess the way I was brought up, and also because I didn't have as much experience in analyzing the work of other people, so I thought that what they did was pretty close to perfect. And then over time, as I studied it more, I realized that it was far from perfect. It had all kinds of flaws. Now, that doesn't mean that it takes away from my enjoyment of it. It's just that you realize that artists are humans and they make mistakes like everybody else. But the power of the art is such that you forget about the flaws in there and you don't notice them. And that's when the magic is happening, is when you and the audience with you, all the fans, you're all elevated to this higher state of consciousness where the good starts to resonate within you, and your own imagination starts to amplify and expand the world that the artist introduced you to. And the flaws, or the rough spots, don't matter anymore, because you're now on a higher plane where those things are just accepted as part of the greater whole, and you don't see it. Or you do see it, but it doesn't matter anymore. And I didn't understand that it's ready to go out now. Yeah, it's not perfect, but guess what? It's never going to be perfect. And that's okay, because if it's got some magic in it, then that's what people care about. And that magic often is there pretty close to the beginning. Sometimes it takes a while to work up to the magic, but it was ready to go. And the third thing is that I would tell myself that if you express your passion and admiration for someone's work, then there's a decent chance that they will like you and talk to you. That you can approach powerful, famous, influential people from a sincere place, and you can actually meet them and have an interaction with them and get their advice and work with them. Again, that's something that took a long time for me to understand, that you can reach out to people that you admire or at a higher level than you are and get their advice and help if you come at it with the right attitude.
All right, so this is a good segue to the thing that I have to talk to you about before we talk about Space Command, which is the biggest difference between my career trajectory and your career trajectory is like most of the stuff that I do is on my own. So like I self-publish my stuff. For the most part, I build my own audience. Like I do most of it hands-on, and a lot of your work is working with other people as a composer. Most of the credits that you have on IMDb, at least, are composing other works. And can you talk a little bit about how you go about finding projects, how you go about vetting projects, and a little bit about your journey for like how you went from maybe your beginning of your career to how you deal with projects now?
Okay, sure. First, let me just mention that I don't have everything on IMDb. It's a good resource, but I've done twice as many projects as are on IMDb. And also, I do serve as a producer, and that means the person that or team of people that assembles all of the artists, craftsmen, and the equipment supplies that make the project, and then after the project is made, put it out in the world. I do serve as a producer, sometimes credited, sometimes not. So I work on projects that I co-create as well as on other people's projects. The thing is that being a producer in film and TV, which I adore, is a very time-consuming thing. And by time-consuming, let me give you a perspective on it. And composing capacity, just doing the music, I can easily turn out 6 feature-length projects, or a dozen or more series projects in a year. As a producer, maybe one a year, more likely one every other year. So being a producer is literally 10 times slower than being a composer in those fields. Now, more recently, I've gone into concerts, doing live music, and those events are much easier to produce. They're not easy, but they're still way easier than producing a movie or TV series. So those are not, of course, included on IMDb unless, you make a video of it and then you broadcast it. Then it becomes a video, but that's a whole other thing because that's usually not one concert, but a staged concert that was created to make it look good on film, because it's very difficult to properly photograph and properly record a live concert. There's just too much stuff going on at once that you can't control, and the whole thing about video and audio recording to make it look and sound professional is you have to have everything under control. So, a lot of quote concert films are actually just simulations. But in any case, how do you find work? It's simple. Be everyone's friend. That was the advice that was given to me by my first mentor very early on. And it's always been true, and it always will be true. If you're everyone's friend, you will have a good life, you'll have lots of work and lots of money. It's not easy to be everyone's friend. That's very, very challenging. And so it's more of an ideal to try and aspire to. But just meeting people and being friendly to them, that's how you find work in the entertainment industry. Uh, and that's also true of your own projects, that when you have a lot of friends, then it's relatively easy to put together your own projects because you know all these people that do all these different things, and so you can put together a team. And that's what producing is about, is, you put together the team that's needed to make this project come to life. So it's all about meeting people and being friends and connections. And if you're good at that, great. If not, you need to partner with someone. Again, it's about being friendly, but you don't have to be friendly to thousands of people. As like an extrovert, you can be an introvert and just be, friendly with a few close people, as long as those are the right people, the people who do have, the friends who know friends, as another one of my mentors say. And I love that. I asked him how he put a project together. And he said, well, I know people that know people.
Yeah, I can't. I absolutely have to concur with all of those statements because, I don't get a lot of work because I'm doing most of my own projects, but it
Cool.
is, as far as putting my own work together, it is absolutely, I am super nepotistic when I put projects together, like at least for the core group. I believe that when you're putting a project together, you have to have a sort of critical mass of humans that will function at a certain level. My friend Charlotte Fullerton talked about how
She's great.
she's amazing, but she says when she's putting together like a team for a writing team for a show, she has like most of the work is done by the yeomen, like the people that are in the middle that are going to be on time. Their scripts are going to be good. Maybe they won't be great, but they'll be serviceable. Like they'll come in clean. They'll come in on time. And then there's a couple of superstars that like will do like the amazing work. And sometimes the yeomen become superstars, or sometimes it's somebody that you bring in from another project. And then there are a couple of flyers that you can take on new people. You can't take a lot of flyers on new people because like the project has to have a certain quality, and you have to know that if those people fall out or if they don't deliver something that you need, then somebody else can fix it on your team. Or somebody else can step in, or if you lose those two people, or those young people, or those new people, then like it's not going to destroy the whole project. So that's how I think about putting a project together. Is like, okay, most of the people on this project have to be serviceable, at least serviceable, which means I have to have seen their work, I have to know it is of a certain quality, and I have to know it will be delivered on time. Now, within that, there are certain styles and twists that I like to put on, and I'm like, well, I'd like to bring in this person because like they bring this point of view, or they have this art style, or they do this thing. But I'm very conscious that if a project is to survive, I can't bring in too many people that I don't already know. Even people that were referenced to me by somebody else that I haven't seen do the work, because the expectations are so high that if it falls apart, it's not going to fall apart because of like it's going to come back on me if it falls apart. It's not going to come back on the people on the team because I'm the person putting it together.
Yes, although, a rising tide does lift all ships. So when the project is successful, everybody who's involved with it, from the letterer to the publisher, is going to have that credit, have the quality, the success. When you work with someone who's more accomplished than you are, it's a win-win. You gain some of their respectability or fame because that's how fame works. You become famous by becoming associated with something else that's famous. whether you're building your own brand and you had a successful story, so now you have an even more successful story, or working with other people and you build on their fame. You work with a famous actor, so now you're more famous. Then you work with another famous actor, so now you're even more famous. In every field, it kind of works that way, where you build up on. But it also helps the person at the higher level, because they are only human, and they need to constantly refresh what they're doing, because the world is always changing, and the way that you keep up with the world always changing is that you meet new people. They can be older or younger, although it tends to be younger that helps, because they tend to have more fresh new ideas, and they keep the older, more established person fresh and current. They're still talented, but you need that new input and freshness. So
energy, and energy, because like usually someone who's on the younger side, whether it's not necessarily like age young, but like younger in an industry, it has not been beaten down so much, and maybe does not have as many responsibilities on them. They have the energy to like keep you like enthusiastic about moving forward.
Yes, that also helps too. So, that's, again, a kind of making friends, being a collaborator. And I agree that, up to a point that the success really is up to the producer, but the public as a whole doesn't usually know who the producer is. I mean, if you were to ask the average person on the street, or the, average comic fan, who are some of their favorite artists or some of their favorite writers, they'd have no problem listing many. But if you ask them, well, who's your favorite publisher? I think that would give them pause. You know what I'm saying?
Right, or their favorite editor, or
their favorite editor, right? That those people in many ways are really the ones who are responsible for whether the project succeeds or fails, and yet they are basically much more known within the industry than outside of it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are ramping down towards the end of our time together, but I do want to talk about the big project that I helped you a little bit with learning about Facebook ads and such recently, and the big thing that I know that you are working on right now. Could you talk a little bit about? You've touched on a little bit before, but can you talk a little bit about your big project?
Well, actually, I have a couple of big projects. One is called The Universe, where we musicalize the history of the universe and create performances inside the telescopes that discovered the Big Bang or gravity waves or any amazing scientific discovery. And that's a big long-term project, and there's some cool videos on that from that project that are on my YouTube channel. Which is, my name, Raiklen, Raiklen. Another big project I'm working on is Space Command, and that's that series of hopeful adventures set in the near future, where we have an amazing cast of science fiction people from both in front and behind the camera. It's the only project I'm aware of that has people from Star Wars, Star Trek, Babylon 5, Sliders, Battlestar Galactica, Harry Potter. All of these different fantasy and sci-fi universes are contributing some of their top creative talent to Space Command, because they believe in this hopeful vision where people treat each other better. We have some wonderful ideas, like I don't think I'm giving away too much of a spoiler, that we encounter an alien civilization. And it was important to understand how amazing and overwhelming it was for the characters to interact with this alien civilization and absorb, or at least try and absorb, their technology and their culture and just the incredible might and power and vision of their galactic civilization. So we created our own language for this alien civilization. And teaching the actors how to speak in this alien language, which we made up based on real languages, was a fascinating and a really fun experience. The performers all just love being able to emote and perform their character's part using words that made sense, but the audience would never understand exactly what that word meant. It all had to be conveyed by the tone, by the pacing, by the music, all of the elements that might be considered nonverbal were now up at the level of being the text, the verbal thing. So too much description. Why don't we just listen to the Ima Mirage?
Yes, we are going. That is how I decided we're going to end this show. But before we do that, I want to make sure that people know where they can find you. I'll also put, obviously, your links in the show notes. And then, if you could, after that, this is when a lot of people that are listening to the show or driving or doing something else with their time. And now this is when I ask them to tune back in for just the next couple of minutes while you tell everybody where we can find you, and then deliver like the one piece of advice that you'd like them to leave this with. Either it could be something you've already talked about, or something that is new that you just thought of.
Thank you, Russell. It's been wonderful to be here. And if you want to get in contact with me for original music or for advice on how to get the perfect music, the perfect song, perfect sound design for your project, if you want something that's unique and special, that's created for some event in your life, like a graduation or a wedding, or if you have a special concert that's coming up and you want to have music that's modern and melodic and accessible to the audience and will help lift the spirits and be fun for the performers to play, I'm available at cinematicmusic1@gmail.com. That's my email, cinematicmusic, the numeral 1@gmail.com. You can hear some of my work at my website, which is David Raiklen, DavidRaiklen.com. You can friend me on Facebook at David Raiklen, and I'm very open-minded about befriending anybody that wants to be a friend. And I also have an Instagram that's under my name, Raiklen, Raiklen. There's my YouTube channel, David Raiklen. And I think those are the best ways to get a hold of me. Or if you forget all of those, then Russell knows how to contact me, and he's welcome to forward on any requests for questions that you have. I love to help other people's dreams come true. And if I had one piece of advice to give, it would be kind to everyone.
I love it. And now, as we go out, I will remind everyone to subscribe to the show. And if you could talk to us about what we're hearing, and then we will let that play us out.
This is the Ima Mirage, where Doug Jones is mind melding with the hive mind of this galactic civilization called the Ima. Enjoy.
Have a great day.